We've got about 15 minutes or so for a bit of a discussion, and we've got a bit of a roving mic across the chair there. So, Jemima, if you're on with your microphone. I guess, Jemima, you are an elite athlete. You've got an incredible athletic schedule to manage. In your spare time, you're doing a medical degree. I'm assuming you've got some spare time. How do you put it all together to balance your time? Surely you've got some time management tips and tricks you might be able to share with us.
Yeah, so the best thing I was told a few years back was you can have it all but not all at once. So I'd like to imagine all of the things that I'm juggling as balls in the air, but some are glass and some are plastic. So at any one time it's about knowing which of your commitments are glass and which can perhaps be plastic and fall to the ground, which ones you have to keep in the air. So aside from knowing what to prioritise at what time, the other key is to be able to reach out and ask for help, which some people are great at, I don't really like doing, but it's something that in the last 7 weeks since med school started, I've had to be able to reach out and say, I really need a lift, I'd love it if you made me dinner, can we train together, can I have your notes from the lecture, I'm not going to be there. So asking for help and knowing which balls are glass and which are plastic.
So it's that support network that's pretty key.
Yep.
Pat, the Australian of the Year Awards had some considerable exposure in recent times with recent recipients such as Grace Tane and Adam Woods and Rosie Bader, just to name a few. Pardon the pun, but how much of a game changer was being Australian of the Year for you from a personal perspective?
Well, for a start, it was a massive opportunity for mental health. That's why I felt it. I felt a very big responsibility to having been lucky enough to be in that position, because you can just imagine there's 10,000 people every year, maybe more, that could be Australian of the Year. It's slightly random process, I've got to say. There's a lot of people that could deserve to be in that position. But if you actually get the gig, then for someone like me, I felt I had a massive responsibility to do something with it. It was an election year, as I mentioned earlier. It was a state and federal election year. And so for the first time, someone from mental health had an opportunity to kind of speak on, not just on their own behalf, but on behalf of, as I say, probably 10 million Australians affected through their life by mental illness, and probably 25 million if you think about every family that has got someone in it. So that's what I felt. And I think I organised, as you can see, politically to sort of make the best chance of it. And it's a gift that keeps on giving, I've got to say, because you're always the former Australian of the Year. So it opens doors, and as long as you don't blow it in some way, then you can actually, in a collaborative sort of way with all the people that are trying to achieve the same goal, definitely achieve it. So it's very, very fortunate, very, very important, but it's still not enough, as you can see. We've still got more work to do.
Luke, as an AFL footballer, you're going into a very structured environment, so everything from your diet to how many minutes on the ground to how many sets of goals you can have at training, it's all being monitored, so it's an incredibly structured environment. I guess the parallel could be for young people, the structure is they've gone through their high school, they're then contemplating perhaps a trade, or they're going to uni, they've got that structure around them. Then they get to that sort of, that fork in the road moment where that structure is no longer around them. The AFL footballer, the career's over. The average career span for an AFL footballer is only a couple of years. I mean, you're one of the lucky privilege for you to get through beyond 200 games. So, what advice would you be looking at to give a young person who's coming out of that structured, I'll call very loosely a safe environment, going into that unstructured world? What sort of insights or observations would you have coming from the world that you've come from?
Going well tonight with the technology. It's a challenge, yeah, and it's a challenge that the AFL and the Players Association, which I have a pretty heavy involvement with as a player, and the clubs are tackling together. There's certainly a lot better at it now. A lot of it's related to, in a sense, what I was talking about before, and I heard Jemima talk about it off the top. Making sure the players realise that playing footy is what they do, not who they are. So, and that sounds a bit easy, a little bit thrown in, and it is a lot easier said than done because when you're in there, and I think the average career might be 6 or so years, you do want to absolutely make take every opportunity you can. So the players are very well supported these days, but it is still a challenge to come out of it. It's the biggest challenge for the players. It's the biggest focus, I think, for the Players Association, and it should be. But they do it in conjunction with the clubs, and it's I wouldn't say that I've seen a player come out and do it perfectly. There's been a few, but it is a massive. It's funny, I was listening to a podcast in the car on the way here. Tom Brady, who an NFL fan, is a 45-year-old who finally decided to retire in 4 weeks down the track. Couldn't deal with home life, it seems, so he's going back. So it's the longer you're there, at times the harder it can be to make that transition out. But I do think that the players more than ever are getting prepared for it by their clubs and by the Players Association.
Jemima, if I wanted to throw you, thanks Pat. You spoke very eloquently about the mental mind shift that you're navigating in a 20k competitive race. For people like me who are pretty basic, when the whips are cracking in a 20k race, when literally every step you take is being scrutinised by an official, spread throughout the course, how do you keep your composure in those last few kilometres when the end is nigh? You're shoulder to shoulder. Take us through what that's like in terms of what you're going through, in terms of keeping it on the level. Have you got a particular mindset, or is there a bit of a program? Tell us how you work through that final few Ks.
I think the capacity to stay calm is usually where races are won or lost, and I haven't figured it out. Like, I'm not totally calm every single time, but it's almost like that swan analogy where on top of the water you just see the swan gliding along and then its legs are pedaling like anything underneath. So you've got to be the swan despite what might be going on around you. You know, the judges are watching you, you know, there's pressure, you can't pretend that that's not all happening. But I think it's about mindfulness and it's about repeatedly practicing staying calm despite pressure. So I practice that every single day in training, and I guess it's like a muscle. You need to just hone it.
Yep. Pat, we've seen in recent days the opening of the Danny Frawley Centre at the St Kilda Football Club for mental health and wellbeing. It appears to be perhaps a model for the future in terms of a community-based support piece. What's your thoughts? Would you see and envisage, as you're climbing up from base camp, that we see more of that type of local community investment?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to go to the, it was very inspiring. Danny's widow, Anita, spoke beautifully, actually, so did a bunch of other people, and you can see that it's like you have to create that safe space between, I suppose, normal life and transitioning into being able to safely sort of open up, like Luke was talking about, in a safe space. And I think they've created a safe space for that down there. It's like, and it's got the other side of the coin, the mental health and the well-being aspects as well, which, you know, they're very important, but they're for everyone, you know. That's for everybody, you know, improving your mental health, a bit like I think Will was talking about that too. So that's, it's tolerating that ambiguity where you have all of that as a sort of an ecosystem in which you can then seek help, and there are pathways into seeking help. But the problem is, you know, we've got a lot of emphasis on that well-being thing, thinking that it's going to somehow deal with mental illness, and that they're different things. They're different things. So a mentally ill person with schizophrenia, for example, can have very good mental health, paradoxically, because they've got well-being, they've got things in their life they can enjoy. So it's not the same thing. So that's what people get very confused about this for obvious reasons. It's probably confusing everyone speaking about it now. But it was definitely an uplifting experience, and it's the sort of thing. It's a piece of good faith by the football club there, and several football clubs are doing it too. Like Luke mentioned Essendon, which one of my former colleagues was the person he's talking about. They're working with the team there. North Melbourne, my footy team, is doing really good things in mental health as well. So I think, you know, a bit like you were saying, clubs, they're institutions in Melbourne especially, so they've got a responsibility to kind of do this sort of stuff. Because like Luke's beautiful example of the little girl that he helped, you know, it's sort of giving something to the community, because the community love football, they love the clubs, and so it's a beautiful thing really. I came from Newcastle, we didn't have that to the same degree up there, but it's one of the beautiful things about Melbourne actually, so I was very happy to see that happen.
Now Luke, this is not a setup, this question. We said in the introduction that you have an unusual record, 4 grand finals for 2 different clubs. There's another record I think you hold, which is probably the most understated celebration when the final siren went in a grand final, where your teammates are cavorting all over the ground, and you're, I think, actually living a man for others in real life, in real time. I've got a slide here. Under the adage of a week is a long time in footy, Luke, on the left-hand side is number 12 with the best seat in the house, 5 minutes to go in the grand final. Goddard takes the mark, goes back, puts it in front, and then a week later, of course, the tables are turned and you've got the privilege of holding that cup as we see down the bottom. I would love to know what was going through your mind at the 25-minute mark of that grand final.
That one?
That one. And then what was going through your mind 7 days later?
That one is, well, actually the 5 seconds leading up to that. What's the time? I was thinking, oh, fuck yeah. And you're right, it's, I believe that's what they call being posterised, isn't it?
You did like number 12, so...
Yeah. And knowing BJ, I think he's still beat, no, he lost, I think he's still got that up in his work. Yeah, it was a crazy couple of weeks. We get asked about a lot. I spent 8 years playing with the other mob leading up to that, and had lost the grand final with them 12 months earlier, so I knew that feeling all too well. Close one too, so can't really have chances to win. So, I think the other question was around the reaction of the siren. Man, it was a relief. A lot of it was a relief because I had a shocking day that day. So if we had got beaten, it would have been a real disaster. I don't know where we would have went to from there. But got another chance the next week, and it went our way. We had a much better day, but all the while knowing that some of those guys that I'd spent a fair bit of time with had that pit in their gut again. So. I would have liked to have come back the year after and won against someone else and now we carry on like you're supposed to, but that's how it played out.
We're now at magic time of 8:30 on schedule, so I guess from small steps in 2017, we've set up a new Game Changers page on our website. So tonight's being recorded. It'll be available on our website for you to digest, but we've also got all of our presentations from speakers such as Georgie Harmon from Beyond Blue, Nick Maxwell from Collingwood, and John O'Brien from the Brisbane Lions, as well as Dr. Andrew Walby and Professor David Horgan sharing their insights. I'd like to thank Paul Newport, who's up in the bleachers filming tonight, for his camera work. And as I say, this will be available to you tomorrow. Thank you for attending tonight. If you feel the urge to donate more to Youth Live for Life, there's material down the back with our rattlers down there with their cans. We've also got a QR code that you can log straight into. But before we do go, I've got the obligatory gift for our panellists. Just bear with me. So much again, and to all of you for attending tonight. As I say, on behalf of the Old Xaverians Football Club, we look forward to seeing you again at our next Game Changers Forum. And with that, thank you and good night.